Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening.
Daphne.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. So you put on your video camera for us.
It's on actually.
Yay! Should we wait for one more person? Some of people join us, so people are ahead. Well, in a short time, so this meeting is going to be for 1 hour.
Okay.
And then there's a lot to catch up with. So what do you think? Should we wait for people to join us, or we should go ahead?
We can wait for a few more people, around 10, and we start. Minimize time.
5, 10?
10.
5, 10?
No, as in 10 members at least, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's wait out then. But in the meantime, how was your week? How's it been?
My week has been fantastic. Apart from the floods we are facing in Uganda, I don't know if it is happening in Nigeria.
There are cases of flooding in Uganda?
Yeah. We are having so many cases in the capital city.
Wow.
Actually, you find an office that is flooded. The chairs are just floating in water. So that is also another issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't even want to get into that because when I start to ask questions, we're just going to eat into some of the questions I plan to ask eventually. But
Okay.
what's the main cause of flooding in Uganda right now? What's possibly causing it?
Okay, I think it's poor planning. It's poor planning and settling in wetlands. Because our planners actually they don't first sit and analyze where buildings should go. The drainage system is also improper. So where a drainage system would have been put, you find there is a building. So the waterway is also blocked. So everything is a disaster. So anyway.
Wow. We have cases of flash flooding in Lagos as well.
Yes.
But I've not seen how bad the one in Uganda is. I've not been in the news recently, so I wasn't even aware that you guys are having cases of flooding. Hope you're not affected. You're good.
I know. No, my area actually has an advantage of grass and trees. I think that is an advantage.
Yeah.
So we are not so much affected. But I'll send you videos on WhatsApp and you see what is happening.
Wow. I think we should go ahead now because this meeting is going to be recorded, so everyone is going to have access to it eventually, right? So I think we should go ahead anyways. Can you confirm that, Joshua, that this meeting is being recorded?
Yes, this meeting is being recorded.
All right, fantastic. So yes, let's get into it. Daphne,
Yes.
we've been putting out a lot of adverts on this meeting for a long time now, and under your name,
Yes.
we've put climate activists there. So I don't want to, I don't want to help you introduce yourself. I want you to talk to the people. How are you a climate activist? What have you been doing in your community around climate change? How did you happen on climate activism? You can just give us a run through of how you got here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me first introduce myself. My name is Naudho Daphne. I'm a Ugandan by nationality. I'm a climate activist. I work with Action for Liberty and Economic Development. But I also have an organization known as Asewe Climate Club. So my journey as a climate activist actually began in COVID. COVID reached an extent that I was so redundant at home. So I suggested to myself I should look for a living, actually. I first called it a living. So I went and I volunteered at a certain organization. It was for youth. That was a climate action network. So we had a department for youth. So when I volunteered, I got inspired by the work that they were doing. So when I started looking at, actually I didn't know that climate change was happening. Moreover, I was in campus, that was my second year, and I was ignorant about this. So this motivated me to carry out research in my community and to see the problems that are affecting my community and how I can be of help. So I started partnering organizations that were in charge of climate activism. So we used to go to communities and you start as a small person, you grab rubbish, you send messages, you talk to people, because our society, there is lack of sensitization to an extent that if I tell you that I used to know about climate change in my first year or second year on campus, that is something disastrous. So now what of the community, if the people in the education system are not aware of what is happening? So what of the society that we are living in? So this pushed me to carry out more research, because as I grew up as a child, there are places in society where I used to play from. We have a hill near our home, but now actually it's almost flattening. Why? Because of soil erosion. And okay, you may take it as an issue, but it is an issue that is happening. When we move around, put down a lot of polythene bags, solid waste, liquid waste. So I looked at this and I said, I think it is time for us as youths to come up with something. I know initiatives are there, but sometimes the initiatives we have at the mercy of getting money, but now we need committed people in society. We need people who have that effect, who are now looking at the future generation. Because now for us we are grown up actually. Now we are looking at the future generation. Now our kids, how are they going to stay in a community that is sustainable? Because if you look at an urban planner and that person cannot do his or her work, because you've taken money and this is going to affect the climate at large, you don't know what your future child will face. But for you, you're looking at short effect, yet the long-term effects are neglected. So that is part of the journey. Maybe growing up with I grew up with my grandmother who is actually in love with climate. So she also motivated that no matter you don't have funds, but if you are a voice to the community, then people can listen to you. If you can do something that can change the community. So I call it give back to the community actually. Yeah. It is give back to the community. Yeah. So I think with that we shall continue to talk more. Because I have a presentation to give to you people.
Okay, fantastic. I know you're ready for us, so I'm making time for that. I just want to onboard you so that everyone present know what you're doing.
Yes.
And how your contribution has been to your community so far. So before you go into your presentation, I just want to speak around how we can localize initiatives around climate change, waste management, and advocacy, right? So there's this thing around advocacy that is most I've faced for a while, and people look for how they can make it globally fast. There's this wave about, okay, I want to go to the United Nations, I want to go to Geneva, I want to go to Switzerland, I want to work here, what I'm doing now. Meanwhile, change is global, but must start locally. So can you speak to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Concerning that issue, now let me give an example of Uganda. So now we have Uganda, we have kingdoms. So now for us we've gone back to the grassroots. So you know there is you can get something that ties society. Now for us when you put that program climate activism in kingdoms, people are going to follow up because you're going to engage each and everyone. We have a saying that the king has said. So when people hear that saying that the king has said to do this, then there is change. Because we should actually forget this issue of saying that we want to go to 2028. Yes, 2028 is there. But what will it be of use when you attend 2028 and your community is lagging behind? Because I've seen there are some individuals that have attended 2028, and as for now they are doing nothing, because now they are recognized globally. And they are not doing anything to their communities. So I think it is up now we should go back to the grassroots. We sit down as the youth and discuss. You can get issues like I may be interested in management. Someone may be interested in maybe planting trees. So you sit down as a group and you initiate something. Because sometimes another issue comes upon us having different views. The other is investment, the other is in planning. So there is a lot of emotion. But I think as the youth, we should sit down and picture the community we want to see in 2030. Because if I ask someone, you start climate club, what do you want to see in 2030 or in the next 5 years? Because this community, they are floods. Yes. Polythene bags are there. What have you done? Yes. Maybe gain global popularity. That one will come in later. But now the community will appreciate you. The reason why community is not appreciating us is because we do things to be seen globally, not to be seen in our communities. And yet our communities are waiting because we are the generations, we are the kids that they have. So a parent actually sits down and waits for you to say something. But a parent actually in a house where a parent doesn't even know what climate change is, but you are climate change and forget. And every time you're on Zoom talking to international people about climate change, yet even in your home, there is climate change. So I think we should change our mindset. Our mindset. Mindset is very crucial. And go back. You go back to the roots. You sit down. And you picture a beautiful community. Because you're not going to do it. It will not spread worldwide at once. We are going to community per community. You know, this initiative, that the initiative started has brought something. Then we go to another community.
Yeah.
Now, for us in me staying in TV, we have started a campaign of tree planting. But now that campaign is aimed at making sure that you plant a tree and you educate a child. Because now another issue in Africa is the economy. Because the policies the whites are imposing of climate change sometimes cannot work in the African countries. Because you look at people in villages, you cannot organize a climate baraza or a climate workshop and that person attends. Why? Because that time would have been better for someone to sell maybe a bucket of charcoal to earn a living. So now, how are we going to entice our mothers, our grandmothers to come on board and advocate for climate? So there is also another issue of when you look at these communities, there is we have beliefs. Just because we've gone off from the traditional, because now for me now I have seen that if we go back to the traditional ways, I think we can adopt this. Long ago, our parents used to say that you shouldn't cut that tree because your grandfather is inside that tree. We had that fear, and we're conserving the environment unknowingly. But now you cut trees at random. So we should go back. The people on Zoom, I think also Nigeria has some beliefs. You see which beliefs can work. We initiate the traditional patterns because we might not be able to afford the international policies. If we are to afford the international policies, we should look for a way on how community will benefit from the climate activities we are bringing about. Because if you say we have Brazil, I was reading about Brazil. Brazil, they have something called a circular economy. For them, they reuse the wastage they have in a way that in case maybe you've used a vehicle and it's running out or it's out of work, what they do is they renovate that vehicle and they make it a mobile school.
Wow.
So yeah. So if you can renovate that vehicle, and Africa, our kids are not studying because we don't have classrooms. And yes, yet we have landfills full of dumped vehicles. There is a lot of wastage. So that is also an idea we can bring. If you don't have a school, this can be actually a project, and say, let us look for vehicles that are being dumped. You get land, then you start a school. But students are studying wasted vehicles. But it is a renovation and it is a project that you can take on. Because I see Africa, we are rich enough, we can bring everything to ourselves. The foreign allowances we get and foreign aid sometimes comes with policies that we cannot afford. So I'm arguing each and every one here. I don't know what you're picturing, how you're picturing your community to be, maybe even next year. Because this is a question I want to pose to you. You're a climate advocate, but what do you want to see? What change do you want to see in your community? If we are to analyze, what change do you want to see in the community? That is the first question you need to answer, even before starting. Because you want to see, even if the change, it's the change you want to see, is research about the different campaigns that have been happening. What has made these campaigns to fail? Because the campaigns are there and they receive a lot of money. You put pictures, because now for me, being a youth and in my country, you can go and sneak into people's organizations and you see how they work. You just go there, you say, now today we have a cleaning day. Yes, you go, you take pictures along the shoreline when you're having maybe plastic bottles, then you put on internet. So obviously, globally, everyone has noticed. But what value have you added on your community? Because I remember.
I noticed that. Sorry to cut you short. I noticed that there's a lot of greenwashing happening in the ecosystem. Greenwashing is sort of like saying this is what is not, right? So we've reached out to 30 schools in this community, when in essence you've only reached out to 2, but you've duplicated those photos and you made it look like, oh, my reach is this far. So they call it greenwashing. When you're not putting the actual work, but you're putting up a facade of what's not real. So yes, because this is a 1-hour meeting, I want you to go ahead with your presentation, right, Daphne? So that we can have 15 minutes for people to ask questions, because I want this to be a very interactive session. So yes, please go ahead. We're excited to hear from you.
Okay, so let me. As we start, let me first share this video and
everything used to be easy for us, but with the pandemic that we are experiencing right now, how are we acting on? Before the pandemic, there is already an existing problem in how we handle our waste. The waste humans generate has been the detrimental or environment for quite some time now. Humans are generating too much trash and can deal with it in a sustainable way. Waste that is not biodegradable and cannot be properly recycled is filling our oceans and landfills. Improper waste disposal aims to create environmental problems, health problems, and even economic concerns. And now, before getting to worse, we need to work together and help reduce the production of waste. It's really simple this way. Our waste is divided in four categories: biodegradable, residuals, recyclable, and hazardous waste. A clean environment is essential for healthy living. The more we don't care about the environment, the more we will tackle it. Be an influencer in your society who contributes to the betterment of our environment. A small step to save our earth is in your hand today.
Okay, so that short video, I think after we shall discuss about it. But the topic I was given by Agatha was the role of community, the role of advocacy in waste management. So I first thought about it and I said, even though I give you the roles, without someone understanding the steps taken, it might be of no use. I'm not a professor, I'm not going to give you theories. We are going to use the basic knowledge and the local knowledge that I'm using in society. So when we look at community advocacy, this is when a group or organization represents their local community for the purposes of affecting change. So sometimes advocacy happens at all levels, but much important, it begins at the grassroots level in individual communities. When I say grassroots level, it means us personally, we go to the society, to the community, to our mothers, to our sisters, to our parents, and we start advocating for waste management. So through community advocacy campaigns, grassroots groups and other advocacy organizations can leverage their communities to tackle issues that strike close to home and make a tangible difference. So when we engage in community advocacy campaigns at the grassroots level, this elevates someone and it elevates you in community. You'll be able to make a difference back home. So I looked at the global waste problem, which has escalated to 2.01 billion tons of waste. And this is so alarming, because if you look at the world population, which is 7.8 billion, and yet the waste we produce yearly is 2.01 billion tons. I think this is an alarm that the world is changing and we need to act right now. But when you look at Africa, Africa produces 125 million tons of waste per annum. So with this, I said, I think we should look at issues to be discussed. When you look at these images that I put on my screen, they are images of garbage that is in drainage systems, garbage that is in cities, then the other one is a landfill. But when you are a community advocate, even when you're to start as a community advocate, you're going to look at some issues you need to see before you start even the advocacy. So you need to know the main kinds of waste in your area, because you may say that I'm a community advocate for waste management, but you're not even fully engaged, or you don't know the kind of waste that is actually disturbing that particular community. Because when we look at liquid waste, that is sewage or domestic water waste, it may be that it is affecting the community. We go to solid waste, those are waste tires, scrap metals, paint. Then organic waste, this is the food we eat, the leftovers that we dump in roads, we dump anywhere we find. Recyclable can be organic, can be plastic and paper. Then hazardous, That is compressed tanks, maybe acids from factories. So as an advocate, you need to look at the main waste in your area. So you ask yourself, which waste am I campaigning for? Because all the waste we have, it has a different kind of waste management. Because you cannot just do liquid and solid and you have one waste management process. So you need to fully engage in these activities. So you ask yourself where the waste is coming from. So as Nigeria, the biggest waste is coming from domestic. Domestic, that is our homes. Our homes. Then industry, those are industries. Commercial can be markets. Then agriculture. So it is due to elaborate that if the waste is coming from an industry, and which kind of waste is coming from an industry, then you also ask yourself, who is already involved in collecting the waste? Is it the government? Are they NGOs? Are they private organizations? Are they individuals? Because they're individuals that just love their communities and they collect this waste without pay. So you need to also ask yourself, who is responsible for local waste management and collection? And whether they do what they promised. Because now for us in Africa, Uganda, we have we have the municipal council. But you find the waste point collection, it's full, no one is caring. So it is the whole community to take action. These people may be saying deal, they're in charge of waste collection. So now you understand that you're going to look into all these details. That who's going to the waste? Companies, which is sustainable. If it feels that it is not sustainable for the community, but now you can then find out so has voice in the community. You as an advocate, when you look at the drainage system, it is supposed to take water, but there are polybags. There is maybe hazardous waste is also there. So one of the effects is diseases. Because remember our children and also of citizens, you may find a kid falling into food. It is so contaminated. We have land pollution. You know, when these polythene bags enter into the soil, there is a way they make the soil infertile. So you find that all this is alarming the community, but you need to make research. You need to make research. If it is climate change, it is affecting the ozone layer. Water pollution. There is all these polythene bags, as in actually harbor, and they close the aeration of the fish in the water, which causes marine death. So as community advocates, have really considered all these before engaging into such initiatives? Then what change do you need to see? Because if you're saying there is air pollution, there is water pollution, the waste, so what do you want to see in the community? Is it better management of waste? For example, the local government to introduce waste collection centers, but are they working? Because if they are already in place, so what do you want to see? Because we cannot refuse. When we go back to the previous picture, oh, sorry, I didn't put it, but we have collection centers. They are full and no one is caring. What change do you want to see? Do you want informal recyclers to be included in the public waste management? This could be a great idea because most of the informal recyclers are ignored by the government. So now it is up to us. Actually, you can be an advocate. And even you don't engage, how? You look for these informal recyclers. You study the way they do their system. You connect them to government officials, people in power. Because they are neglected and they are doing a lot of work in society. And actually, the people in the community don't know that these informal recyclers are there. Recently, I was looking at waste management, and I was looking at a way they make polythene bags and they turn them into pavers. I didn't know that in Uganda we had such a company. So when I was making research, I got to see that we have that company. So I said, why aren't these people? Why aren't these people given an opportunity? Because they can bring their innovation. So you as a climate advocate, you can help them, you can create a pathway, and they bring these innovations. Those industries can be stationed at different waste disposals. So that, because if it is pavers, then we are still using cement, and yet these people have advocated and advanced pavers into pavers. What are we waiting for? It is our work as advocates, because the government is ignoring. So when we look at, if you want to have less waste to create, you advocate for new government regulations, making manufacturers responsible for collecting, taking part their product for recycle. This is what I was talking about, that in Brazil, over 70% of the waste produced is recycled. And this is an amazing program that you can actually even adopt it, because no one can come and say that you've stolen our project. But as long as you sit down and analyze, how will it work for Nigeria? How will it work for Uganda? So this scheme gives jobs to their community. How? They are given tokens in the waste centers. But here in Africa, we ignore it. Because actually this project is even more cheaper than a landfill. Because the more you recycle, it is better, because the landfill now for us in Uganda, our landfill is actually full. We are now suggesting ways of getting another landfill. So the other waste is there, it is not worked upon. So waste is not recycled, but also reused. Old buses are renovated into mobile schools. So as we sit down and discuss these issues, I want us to broaden our thoughts, because ideas are there, but how can we make them happen? We shouldn't lose hope. Then, here you're going to, as an advocate, after that you're going to see, are you worth listening to? Because after doing all that, because you've done your research and you've done everything, are you worth listening to? Decision makers and the community are likely to listen to you if they see you are trustworthy. You have built a reputation from the grassroots. From the grassroots, it is not just mere taking pictures, because there is taking a picture, and when I come to community and I mention your name, no one knows. That there is a big difference. That means you've not built a reputation. A well-built reputation cannot be destroyed, because the community will come and witness. They will come and say, this individual has advocated for climate change. He has innovated waste management processes. So you can also take action on waste yourself. Don't wait for Agatha to call you and say, we have a cleaning in maybe Abuja. No. So for example, you could gather bottles and plastics along roads, beaches. You set an example. Because there is a big difference when you pick a bottle and you dump it somewhere, maybe under disposal. Someone is going to pick an example from you. When you're young, you beat actually the mind of the elderly. Because because they know now, the youths of nowadays are not so that well mannered. But when you pick a bottle, that is an example. Even us as community advocates, because for me, I mostly do community advocacy, but even at home, you take a bottle of soda and you just dump it in the pathway. But if you're exemplary, then that is a difference. Then you can also get representatives on local councils. For us, we have local councils at the local level, but sometimes we don't find them of purpose. Because when they are discussing issues, if you have a representative for environment, that person is going to bring issues that are perturbing the community. But every time local councils sit, money, health, but is the environment represented? I think we should go back and check. As we are on this Zoom, you go back and check. In your local community, do you have a local council representative for environment? Then last, you can use international policies as a tool for national advocacy. But the local level is the first step. Because when you do the first step, then international advocacy is nothing. So here you go to how will the change happen? People who have the power to bring, you have to consider the following things. People who have power. In Nigeria, you have senators. I know sometimes it is hard to talk to senators. It is hard to talk to those big people. But be persistent, be consistent, be committed. One thing that is failing us is commitment. We are not committed to the goal we want. But each time, if you say maybe every time at 7, I'll be at the door of this individual, that person will get fed up of you. And finally, that person will say, okay, come in and we'll discuss what do you want. And now don't bring in your interests, bring in the interests of the community. So we have barriers to change happening. For example, if governments offer free landfill collection, this will encourage people to throw away items instead of recycling them, especially industries. So as I said, in Uganda, we have Chiteze landfill, which has been in existence for 21 years. And for us, if you're free to dump the waste the way you want, there is no tax, there is nothing. So how will this change happen? Can't we advocate for a landfill tax? This landfill tax will discourage industries, because if the tax is too high, they are going to go back on their tables and sit down and discuss, and they say, the money we are spending on tax is a lot. So how can we see to it that we bring in innovations that can help us reuse the wastage that we are actually accumulating? So you can also copy approaches that are already working. For example, in Japan has a small town known as Kamikastu, where families, actually this town is far from the cities, but the waste, these families actually, they sat down and made a project. It is a community that came up and raised an issue of waste management. So for them, they separate their waste in 34 categories. So after separating their waste in 34 categories, and after it is transferred to the recycling centers, I don't know if you look at that organization, that is commitment that sometimes even us will lack. Because if they separate their waste into 34 categories, even at our places of work, it has failed. You find recyclable in one dustbin, you put organic waste, solid waste, liquid, everything is just there. But if these people have come up with that, can't we change the mindset? Let us be the change that the world wants to see. Then direct contact with decision makers. Start conversations with the local or national government officials. You can even just bring up an idea during maybe these workshops that they do it. They organize. When they say it is time for question and answer, you raise your hand up and you bring on board your point. These people will know this is what is happening. For us in Uganda, actually, I'm amused to tell you that even ministers don't know that the roads are full of potholes because they move in V8s. Because when you move in a V8, you cannot fill the potholes. So you can also do mobilize the public through campaigns. This may include letter writing, petitions. For example, there is the Plastic Foundation of Kenya. For it has launched a campaign on the beach cleanup. It is a beach cleanup campaign. So they are cleaning their beaches, Mombasa. So now it is their campaign, and they are putting it on social media. So they have engaged each and every one. So what do you want to see? So after all this, because when Agatha told me we're going to discuss the role, and I said, everything is being given. You people, you know, COP28 is happening. They're going to discuss policies. But we are tired of discussing things that are not going to be implemented. Let us go back to the grassroots, as Agatha was saying. So when now you after all this you understand the role of advocacy. There is policy influence. When you've done good advocacy, you lobby policies on waste management. This includes educating people about recycling. Maybe after this Zoom, we are going to see how okay, maybe I'll just say it. You go back to your societies and communities. Say, do you know what recycling means? Reducing this is a simple question, and you're surprised upon the answers they will give to you. They don't know technology. And promote the adoption of innovation-based technology and solutions. So this includes advocating for investments in recycling facilities. So we have recycling facilities, and yet we advocate there can be adoption of new innovations, waste presentation of waste, smart management systems, building responsibility, industries are generating waste. So when you advocate that work, this industry is going to be accountable for the waste generation. So now, I think our focus should be now. We are going to be from. Let us go community. Because we are going Nigeria as a whole. We are going Uganda as a whole. We may not manage. We will not say effectiveness. Let's just be beginning with the community. So that when I go to Nigeria, I do. It is a role model in waste management. Then there is environmental protection by reducing pollution. Because if you do advocacy, conserving resources, mitigating the negative impacts of improper waste disposal on ecosystems. So here, you've played your part fully. Because after analyzing all this, you will find out that even someone will not even ask, what have you done? Because they will see. Because for me, my goal is, because I'm in Entebbe, is to look at Entebbe as a model city for climate change. A model city. So look at your community and you say, I want to see it as a model city for climate change and waste management. Then, since I have time, I do a presentation there. We've done advocacy campaigns on waste management. There is one campaign called the Trash Initiative. This company was actually, it was founded in 2023 by a group of students. One was discussing he used to visit Myanmar. He was tired of seeing the huge waste mountains around their community. So they sat down and said, what can we do? So all of us, it begins with us as homes. Let us not paint a good picture, yet for us we are doing the opposite. So I'm calling upon all Advocacy, climate activists, with activists, each and what change do you want to see? Which role you play? Because you as investment management is a big thing, but you enter into something you don't even understand. If they ask you now what is affecting your community, you don't know, you just say, I see polythene bags. But have you analyzed the kind of waste that is affecting your community? No. So let us go back and let us not lose hope.
Yeah.
I'm a youth. I have a degree. Actually, I didn't do climate, but I was just motivated. I did a bachelor's degree at social sciences. So you don't need to have a PhD. Be listening to. So with that, I think I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah.
Have limited time.
Thank you so much, Daphne. Thank you so much. I appreciate that expose. Hopefully, we get to have access to these slides, if you will, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone has questions they want to ask. We have 10 more minutes on this call. I'm seeing most of this hand up already, so I'm going to give the floor to 2 people to speak, and then we'll take it up from there. Moses.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Moses. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Fine, how about you?
Yeah, fine.
I'm really grateful to be part of this innovative. My question is, because of the time, let me just go straight. I want to ask a question on people in the rural area, because myself, I grew up in the rural area, Osun State, Eringesha precisely, where we have nothing like a waste must be where we can drop our waste, where we can keep our waste so that the people can come and bring it and dispose it off. And I'm not even sure the government reconciled my community or know my community aside from the election period. So as an advocate, how can I come in, even though I don't stay at home now currently, but if I want to be part, because you said something that we should start from our home first. Now, if I want to come in, how do I help the community in advocating for it, aside from just talking and creating, bringing up some group of people to park? Because, if I bring up some people like 2, 5, 3, and we start parking for people, in the long run, what can
it's not sustainable.
Exactly. So that's my question. Thank you.
All right, Daphne.
Okay, with that, so if we go back to the local community, you're going to look at, I think when you go back to your home, first look for the local leaders, because now these local leaders are going to help you identify. So after you identifying, you're going to see a sustainable way. Actually, I don't know if you have big land in Nigeria, but you can tell them now. You can talk to your mother. Actually, now this is the role of a community advocate. That, Mom, you're going to give part of it is sacrifice, by the way, part of that land, so that people can bring wastage here. And for you at home, you sit down. It is your family now doing this. They start separating that waste. I tell you, homes are going to copy this. And you're going to become a model community. Obviously, this is going to become so alarming. The government cannot fail to come and collect that rubbish. But even when it is there, sometimes when something is not being seen, when you see just a plastic bottle along the way, you might not see the effect. But when people see that, okay, now this boy is separating this waste, so they sit and say, how can we come in? You get it? How can we come in? These plastics, you can make brooms. You can even create a creation center at home. These kids come and start making craft out of those plastics. It doesn't need a lot of money because it is this waste that you're having. If their bananas are maybe leftover food, you pour in the garden because they're going to rot. Do you also need maybe the National Council to come and pick that rubbish? No, it is now let us make it that the government is not there. What are we supposed to do? It is up to us. Go back home, sit down, draw a plan, get some. That's why I say be an example. Because if you separate this rubbish, it is going to create change. Everyone is going to say, I'm going for that. I'm going for that because our community has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I've answered you.
I'd like to chip in there and say that it's also an opportunity for you to solve a problem, and that's where businesses come from, right? You can have an idea on how you can solve your community's problem, and that will be the birth of a business, right? So businesses start from identifying a problem and solving them. So you can find a business opportunity in this problem you're having in your community and implement it. Because we're short